Okay, so what else? Yeah. So even if you do find work, you got the clients. And I tell you, if you're working at a big company, you don't actually really get to deal with the client. You don't even get to see the client. So if the client has a dumb idea, you can't tell them to their face that they have a dumb idea. Okay. Um, Whereas if you work with, when you're working freelance and you're working directly with the client, um, it's a lot easier for me to negotiate with the client, explain why something might not be a good idea. And I only work, I'm very picky, even though, money's tight, even though I am just barely scraping by, um, at least I get to pick my clients, and I only work with clients who are, you know, people I can really negotiate with and I can really talk to. They got to be people with, and they're people that I don't. I do a lot of Skype conversations with them rather than email because I tell you, it's just there's sometimes there are some things that just convey better over the phone or they could even convey better in person. Um, but yeah, it's like I tell you, I've had, go to clientsfromhell.net, clientsfromhell.net. Go to clientsfromhell.net and you'll know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's faster if you just go there. What else? No direction. Yeah, that's another thing. Do not ask a client for like don't ask a client for like a ton of direction. Like don't ask the client, for the entire artistic vision. What you need, and this is going to be a hard thing for you to do, is to develop your own artistic vision. And I guess is what they call developing a style. And I mean, in my case, there are certain genres of things that I like. I like science fiction. I like things that look plausible. I like researching my subject matter and creating, if I ever make a space laser pistol, I like to figure out, okay, well, where do you put the battery in? Um, how do you charge the thing? Where's the safety on the thing? How do you aim it? Where's the scope on it? Is there a scope on it? How do we cool this thing down? And sorry, I got a phone call. Let me just kill the phone. Yeah, sorry, not now. Okay. You got to figure out how does the pistol cool itself down? We need things like heat sinks. There are a lot of things that I like to think about when I'm designing something. I like to think functionally. If anything, that is maybe not a style, but it is one thing that is inherent in all of my work. Whenever I create any kind of mechanical design, I like to think of function and I like to think of how the person is going to use it. How they'll grip it. Who's using this pistol and what is this pistol used to kill. Um, that if anything is my main style. I whenever I draw things, I try to draw things in such a way that you can easily tell, how all the sculpting is. That's it's if anything, my drawing is very. If there's anything that's inherent in all of my work, is it's all very technical. It's very technical. Um, and then whenever I draw characters, I'm very whimsical. I can draw whatever I want. But even when it comes to clothing and stuff, I'm very functional. So if anything, maybe it's not a style, it is a character, but it is definitely a characteristic of my work. And so whenever I want to find clients and I show them portfolios of stuff, I show them all of my functional design work. And so when they hire me to work on their stuff, they are hiring me for my vision, and I am the director. I direct my own work, and that's what I want because I don't want to be at creative loggerheads with them. I would prefer them to hire me and place their trust in me that I'm going to come up with something that is going to be badass and cool. That's why they hire me, right? So anyway, yeah, there's no direction, and this is why I'm working on my own comic book. I'm working on my own comic book because I don't necessarily know how to direct everything. I don't necessarily know everything that I want. I'm creating a fully encapsulated project so that I can develop a style. That is how I develop my style because I have to answer all of these questions. I don't just sit down and draw panels. I haven't drawn a single panel that I think will go into this comic. Instead, I've got like maybe 20 drafts of my story, and I've just gone over it and over it. And I'm still, if anything, I'm actually spending more time on the story than I am on the concept art. Sometimes I'll sit down and I'll draw concept art. I've done novel versions of the story as well. And like I'm partway through and now I'm like, you know what? I realized that there's some fundamental issues in my storytelling, in my actual plot, and now I got to rebuild it. I got to do another draft of it. So, this is how you develop your style, is that you have to learn to direct your own work and create your own projects, and not expect a client to come along with a project and expect that that client is going to know how to direct stuff, because I guarantee, they have not done the whole project themselves. They are not going to know how to direct it. So, that's something that you got to worry about when you're working completely independently on your own. What else is there? There are plenty of temptations. You're going to want to game all the time. And this is why it's important to sign on to, say, TinyChat, get some screen broadcasting software going, find some other artists who are also in your same situation, get them to join you on TinyChat, and just draw together with them. So, that's what I do, is I just draw together with other people, and to me that's the same way as having other people in the room. And that keeps me able to work, and I don't go off and play video games while I'm broadcasting and working while they're there at the same time. And what else? Yes, when you're alone, well, then you are totally lonely. You're going to be completely alone. Again, TinyChat is really the only thing that I get to, when I'm tiny chatting or if I'm gaming with other people. That's really my only other social contact. I don't have any real social contact. So I mean, again, that's one thing I really miss from working at other places. What else is there? Yeah, you got to be technical competent. We already talked about it. You got to be patient. We talked about that. Yeah, for ethereal motives, you got to have an idea for a story. You can't just be a person who just wants to draw pictures. You got to have some story ideas, and you got to be willing to, understand that those story ideas are going to change a lot. They're going to change a huge amount, and you can't put too much pride in your story ideas, because you have to find something that works. And sometimes things are going to have to go. You're going to have to whenever you want to try to make something that works, you have to get rid of the elements that stand in the way of that thing working, no matter how attached you are to those ideas, no matter how passionate you are about those ideas. Sometimes you got to get rid of the stuff that prevents it from working, and you got to research and find the things that make it work. So, your initial story idea is going to change a lot depending on how epic and big your story is. I fucked up by choosing a really, really big epic story, because it's gone through so many drafts and rewrites. But you're probably better off starting out with short stories and trying to work on those. As for material motives, I guess the material motives of working for a large company are fame and money. And trust me, you're not going to get a whole lot of fame. You might get, but I'll tell you, the money's good. When you're working on your own, then if your project is actually good, which is rare, this is the probably the biggest shot you have at any kind of fame, is really by being a writer, or any, that kind of thing, right? In my case, because I'm working on the whole project myself and doing it as a webcomic, if I can make something that is worth getting people's attention, then that will get me my fame, and that way I can, if it's famous enough, I can approach, a big league company and say, hey, I'm this guy who made this thing. I made this digital comic book. You want to make it into a movie, right? That's how I'm doing it, right? That's how I'm doing it. And then as for money, I don't expect to make much at all. I expect to continue working on the occasional client job and scrape by. I don't think I'm going to make much money at it all. If anything, I'd make money through the conversion of it into a movie. Well, like I say, I don't want this to be the only personal project I do, because I like the control. I like what I do with it. So I guess that's basically all I have to say about art careers. I'm still working my way there. It's definitely not the final say. So anyway, it's 9. Well, we got a minute left. Perfect timing.